What steps are you taking to secure the Defense Department networks?
We have standard operating procedures in place that are very refined when an intrusion is noted or a potential intrusion so that we can monitor our networks.
On the SolarWinds hack, were the Defense Department networks compromised?
Hackers broke into Treasury and Commerce Department's networks as part of a cyber espionage campaign. They gained access by inserting malware into an Austin-based company's software updates in the spring.
Now, this all comes as the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, said recently in an opinion piece published in the Wall Street Journal that China is national security threat number one. He said the intelligence is clear. Beijing intends to dominate the U.S. and the rest of the planet economically, militarily, and technologically.
Republican members of the Electoral College, this message is for you. As you know, our founding fathers built the Electoral College to safeguard the American people from the dangers of a democracy.
Hey everybody, it's Everett with Ohio for Freedom. Does the president still have a narrow path to victory? No. He's got a huge, mile-wide, gaping hole of a path to victory. What are you talking about? Hang on, we're going to talk you down from the ledge. Don't go anywhere. Let's get started.
I hear the sweet sound of freedom, and I won't be
Okay, before we get started, let me say thank you to everyone that has recently been corresponding to me. That family is growing. I really appreciate it. People sometimes say, hey, have I sent you too much stuff? Send me anything you want. I try to get back with people as quick as I can, but it's very much appreciated. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, hit the notifications bell, and everybody be in the process of making the move from Facebook to Parler. It's got to happen. Got to happen. By the way, today is Wednesday the 16th, and at 12 o'clock, there's going to be a big announcement. So by the time you see this, there's a big announcement about Zuckerberg. So that's kind of interesting. But look, the president has a mile-wide, huge, gaping hole of a path to victory. Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk about the significance of the SolarWinds Orion and that protective order. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Elector Defectors. That's a big story. Mainstream media is not covering it. And we're still not done with the Supreme Court, even though they've completely outed themselves. But as corrupt, however, the corruption is not every single member of the court. The corruption starts with John Roberts. We knew that, but if we needed a really flagrant example of it, we got it just a few days ago. But we're not finished with the Supreme Court yet. And then don't forget that there's an executive order, and the first 40-day timeline demarcation is the 18th, 2 days from now. And DNI Director John Ratcliffe has kind of been signaling a little bit. So there's a lot of different ways that this can play out. We're going to go through those. But I just want to start at the end and kind of work back if I can. And I'm going to just say it like this. The president took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. And he swore to protect the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I believe the president takes that very, very seriously. Is there evidence of enemies, foreign and domestic, that have involved themselves in the most recent events that had to do with, let's just say, the early part of November? I'm dancing around the fact checkers here, if you follow my drift here. And the answer is yes, plenty of evidence, and every day, more and more and more and more evidence. And there's no way that this president is going to shirk his responsibilities and just slink off the stage. If it takes this, folks, yes, Insurrection Act will be invoked. I believe that. If it takes that. If there are other types of like martial law, and we cannot let the CCP have their way with this. Simply can't do it, and he's not going to do it. So I want to use a little analogy, and then I want to give you an example of what I believe that the president's tone is. But I've told somebody recently, it's like, you're at your daughter's wedding, everything's going good, and then there's a drunk relative that starts disrupting everything. What do? Well, you can throw them out, and make a scene, but you'd rather not. You'd kind of rather it calm itself down on its own. But if that doesn't happen, you throw the bum out. And so do you understand that the president wants to reserve what is the most drastic of measures as I won't say a last resort, but a final resort? I think so, but if that's where we end up, that's where we end up. So I would just say this: buckle up, strap down for some turbulence, but the president's going to bring this in for a landing. And to just give you a little example of maybe mood or tone, I want to show you this tweet that Lynn Wood tweeted yesterday or the day before. Let me just read it to you. I'm trying to show it to you on the screen. There's Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger with those nice CCP masks on. And here's what he said: President Trump. Donald Trump is a genuinely good man. He does not like to fire people. I bet he dislikes putting people in jail, especially Republicans. He gave Brian Kemp and Secretary of State every chance to get it right. They refused. They will soon be going to jail. And the president retweeted that. Ponder on that for a moment, and then we're going to talk about solar wind. Here's just a few fun facts about this emergency directive 21-01, and this was put into place on December 13th. I want to go to this. This is from CISA, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and that was also on the 13th. This article from the Gateway Pundit: Feds arrive at SolarWinds HQ in Austin. More news coming. So they went to the facility. This article will show you that it reached the U.S. Treasury and Commerce Departments, and this is CBS News, and this will show you many other articles that it involved.
Compromised.
Looking at
Defense
it right now,
Department.
don't have anything definitive. Obviously, very concerned about it, and
Okay, so let me just review a little bit about this directive, okay? And, all right, this was a directive from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, which also oversees elections, which also recently fired that Krebs guy that maintained that this was the most secure election ever. So anyway, it's a Division of Homeland Security, and that order was issued on 12/13, so that was Sunday night. I didn't see anything about that in major media on Monday. If you went searching for it, you could find one tweet from Catherine Herridge. This was only the 5th time in 5 years that one of these directives has been issued. So this is really, really rare. I showed you from just a couple of websites that it affected Treasury and Commerce within our government. And then it started breaking yesterday that there were concerns about the Pentagon, and they even shut down some emergency transfer, I don't know, some kind of big security, something or other there at the Pentagon, but it reached the Pentagon. Now, what does this, and in the process, they actually went to, and I believe SolarWind is owned by Oracle, but it was there in Austin, Texas, that they went and I guess raided the place. But bottom line is, folks, let me just boil it down to redneck for you. This is very, very, very serious. And what the media has done, if they've even tried to cover it, it's got to be Russia, but they never mention anybody that's willing to go on record and say it's Russia. And I think that's a smokescreen, because I think if anybody, it's the CCP. But guess who uses this software, SolarWinds Orion software, to manage networks? None other than Dominion Voting Systems. And this was pointed out by the Gateway Pundit. And if you look, I'm going to show you the video. But when I found their article, a couple hours after they'd posted it, Dominion had done some scrubbing. But take a look at it real quick. Gateway Pundit points out that Dominion Voting System uses SolarWinds software. You can see them circling that. Now, when I ran the same link, that was a few hours later, they had scrubbed it. How important that is, I don't know. But could that be the reason that emergency order was given. I think so.
It's
What does that
possible.
emergency order and, Solar Winds Orion have to do with this mile-wide path for the president that I'm talking about? Well, actually, it has a lot because it's evidence of foreign interference. Nobody's alleging that an American company interfered or hacked into anything. No, it's foreign. Now, the media is not even touching this, really. But if they're even whispering about it, it's got to be Russia, Russia, Russia. I don't think it's Russia. I think it's CCP. But here's the point. It lays a further foundation for foreign interference. And, it involved Treasury, involved the Pentagon. But Dominion systems, foreign interference, it all plays into the executive order, which we are going to talk about. But, folks, this is big, big, big stuff. This is like desperation kind of stuff. And President Trump's just not going to turn a blind eye to it. There's no way that that's going to happen. So I'm going to switch gears now, and I want to talk about elector defectors.
Adding to the uniqueness of this election is the fact that a separate slate of electors emerged on Monday. GOP electors from Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, Wisconsin, and New Mexico broke expectations and cast their votes for Donald Trump. This historic development was virtually ignored by big media.
So 5 states had elector defectors where the electors didn't obey the propaganda company line and decided to cast votes for President Trump. Now, I'm not going to get into the total weeds on exactly how this works, but I'll say everybody's, the Electoral College has voted, and that's the way it is. Mitch McConnell can say that, but he knows that they have to accept those results and vote on them on January 6th, and that has not happened yet. Mitch, somebody was so gleeful, one of my haters was so gleeful in pointing out to me that, Senator Rob Portman of Ohio says it's all over. I don't care what Rhino Rob Portman has to say. January 6th is a big day, and what these 5 elector state defectors did, that hasn't been done. That hasn't happened since 1960. And again, I don't want to get too into the weeds. I'm just saying, folks, it ain't done yet. A lot of things could happen between now and January 6th. Somebody could get arrested. Somebody could be charged with a crime, especially our dealings with China. But I don't know how it's going to turn out. But it is not done yet. Now, I want to talk about the Supreme. Oops, forgot one thing. We've already got a Congressman, Mo Brooks from Alabama, and a Senator, Ted Cruz, have both said that they will stand up to object the motion, and I don't know who forwards the motion, does it, whatever. But there's already people that are going to contest that. So that is not just going to be a lay-down, rollover, slam dunk on January 6th, and bam, Biden's got it. That's not how that's going to happen. And those 126 state representatives that were supporting that Texas lawsuit, they're not going to go away either. So, folks, this is far, far, far from done just on that front.
The Trump team is planning to file new lawsuits in the coming days, which will mimic the one by Texas. Meanwhile, as the Supreme Court dismissed the Texas case, lawyer Sidney Powell filed an emergency petition with the Supreme Court to hear her case on election fraud in Georgia.
Okay, I played just that one short little clip because, folks, sometimes I don't like to overthink things, okay? Yeah, I like to dig for detail, but sometimes you can overthink stuff. So let's just, again, let me boil it down into redneck for you. The president's team, that would be Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis, they've got cases that are working their way towards the Supreme Court. There will be emergency filings, and that's the way it always is. You have filings up to the last minute. Sidney Powell, the same. She has cases that are already on their way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will have to say yes or no as far as looking at them yet. The Supreme Court has never looked at any evidence, by the way. And Lynn Wood parlayed out and tweeted out last week that he is on the document. Now, please look at this the right way. Let me start by telling you the wrong way to look at it. Do not look at this as though, we still have a chance. We still have a chance. I hope the Supreme Court will do the right thing. They probably won't. Maybe they will. But they have several chances where God's given them a chance to do the right thing. They completely blew it over that Texas suit. And you heard me on a previous video say that according to clerks in the Supreme Court, they're not my sources, but if the source is accurate, you could hear John Roberts screaming down the hall, telling the junior justices how they would vote. What about all these riots? And you hear all this political corruption on the part of John Roberts and the acquiescence within certain members of the court. But because of what Sidney Powell has filed, because of what Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis have filed, because of what Lynn Wood has filed, they will be given another couple of chances or two, and we'll see what they do with it. But they may be the Supreme Court of the United States. They are not the Supreme Court of the universe, which leads us to the executive order.
In an exclusive interview with the Epoch Times show American Thought Leaders, Powell says President Trump has the authority to appoint a special prosecutor into election interference under a 2018 executive order. She alleged an overwhelming amount of evidence of foreign interference.
Every voting machine in the country should be impounded right now. There's frankly more than enough criminal probable cause to justify that.
Okay, I wanted to show a clip that referenced the executive order, and that's a pretty good one, but it's not the one that I wanted to show. Why am I not showing the one that I wanted to? Because I can't. Because YouTube has taken it down, and it was a clip with Lou Dobbs and Sidney Powell. Now, it might be available somewhere. I don't know who posted it, but that's what YouTube does. But just in case you're not familiar with this executive order, we've covered it before, but the president in September of 2018 signed an executive order dealing with foreign election interference. And it's powerful. It's got some teeth in it. It also has two 45-day time periods in there. The first one is within 45 days of the election, the Director of National Intelligence, in this case it would be Director Ratcliffe, would have to deliver to the president a report. And he can include and reference other heads of agencies like Department of Justice, FBI, and so forth. But the president has to get it by the 45-day mark, which again is December 18th. Now, let me just point out, and by the way, if you're still with me, I appreciate it. I'm going to try to wrap up here, but we got a lot to unpack, so here we go. In the one respect, it would be premature, perhaps, for the president to act on that executive order before the report is submitted. But make no mistake about it, this executive order is the ultimate, no pun intended, trump card that the president has to play. And in addition to the 45-day time periods, it gives the president the authority that if foreign interference is discovered, he can freeze and he can seize. He can freeze and seize stuff and finances. And right in the language, I've gone through this before, it says that because in this day and time, wire transfers can happen like in a moment's notice, he does not have to give any advance notice. So I'm going to leave that there for just a moment, because I'm going to say something that, if you're still with me, and I guess if you're not with me, you don't know I'm going to say this. So if you say something at the end of the video and there's nobody in the forest to hear the video hit the... Never mind, we won't go there, okay? I'm going to say something you don't want to hear because it's something that I don't want to hear. But nonetheless, it is true. Ladies and gentlemen, ultimately, it is better that things have played out this way than if we had gone to bed on November 3rd, knowing the president had been reelected, and woken up on the 4th to hear the media and everybody else saying so. That would have been comfortable, and that would have been nice, but ultimately it will have been better. I think I'm saying that correctly, that it's played out this way. And here's the reason why. If it hadn't had to have played out this way, how much would we not know? What have we learned since November 3rd that we wouldn't have even known about if things had gone the way we thought that they should? There has been so much outing outing that this president has done ever since he declared his candidacy. And I'm going to go through this. I was not immediately a Trump supporter. I initially supported Ted Cruz. I have tons of respect for Ted Cruz, but Ted Cruz didn't get the nomination. So I knew that I would support whoever got the nomination. I wasn't going to vote for Hillary Clinton. But from the very beginning, I'll start with Jeb Bush. President Trump, then candidate Trump, boy, if we needed somebody to out the establishment in Jeb Bush, they just thought they would automatically foist Jeb Bush upon us as the nominee for the Republican Party in 2016. Along with that, here from the state of Ohio, really had no idea what a buffoon. I call John Kasich the orangutan because he's always standing like this and, waving his hands like, here in Ohio, like I passed laws for Ohio. We had no idea what kind of rhino was. If it wasn't for President Trump, would we really know how corrupt the FBI is? Would we really have known about Comey and the CIA? Would we have known about Brennan and about Clapper? Would we know now that current director Wray is completely corrupt when we know that he sat on that Hunter Biden laptop for at least a year, did nothing with it? More recently, and we mentioned this earlier, but if we needed any proof that the head of the Supreme Court is corrupt, we've got it now. Earlier in the summer, when head of the Joint Chiefs of Staffs, Mark Milley, came out against President Trump because of that photo op in front of, was it St. John's or wherever that is, we know that there's disloyalty in the highest positions in our armed forces. We know that Esper was disloyal. That's why he was fired. We know that guy, Chris Krebs from CISA, was basically a traitor. And more recently, just in the last few days, if you wanted to really know what you should know about Mitch McConnell, now you know. And I'll tell you what, when I watched that STOP, the STEAL rally yesterday, and repeatedly those guys were saying, everybody that's not standing up for the president, we're not going to forget you. I want to tell you something. This process has awakened a sleeping giant, but we know where McConnell stands. We know where, here in my state, Rob Portman stands, but we already knew that, but now they've outed themselves. If it wasn't for this debacle that we've had to go through, would we really know how really corrupt Facebook is, Twitter is, Google is, YouTube is? And so ultimately, the president can play this executive order trump card, and if that's what it comes down to, wonderful. And Sidney Powell can mention special prosecutors, but when you think of special prosecutors, I know what I think of: years and years and years of nothing happening. The president may have to declare martial law. He may have to do what Abraham Lincoln did and suspend habeas corpus. He may have to use military tribunals. And folks, that would all be constitutional. But ultimately, if it would allow us to purge. Oh, and I forgot one thing, and it's huge. This process has outed the fake church leaders, the fake supposed Christian leaders. And so ultimately, it's going to be for the best. I was thinking about two pretty familiar portions of Scripture, and I want to just share this thought with you. In the book of Esther, when Haman was hanged on his own gallows, think about this. The king did not even know that he was a menace and a threat to the queen until the very last moment. But once the light came on, that boy got hanged. Think about this. When God brought the children of Israel over the Red Sea, through the Red Sea, Pharaoh was so arrogant, so full of himself that up until the last second, really, he thought that he could pass over on the same dry land that the children of Israel did and that it would all work out for him. Guess what? It didn't. I hope that you are encouraged by what we've talked about today. There's so much we could get into that we don't have time for. But folks, just make no mistake. I said it once, I'll say it again. The president took an oath, and he's going to be loyal to that oath. He's going to do whatever it takes, and nothing is going to have to happen that's going to break the Constitution, break the law. It'll all be right. It'll all be honest. It'll all be just. And most importantly, however this shakes out, God gets the glory, because ultimately this will be God's victory over evil. And it doesn't matter if half the population of the United States doesn't get it. I've said this from day one. The remnant has been praying and the patriots have been acting. Keep the faith, keep the faith, keep the faith. It's okay. Get off the ledge. Get off the ledge. You're not going to jump today. And with that, till next time, God bless you. God bless your family. God bless the state of Ohio. We're going to get to the state of Ohio. There's things to talk about. And God bless the United States of America.